Haribol. Today is the third day of our walking parikrama and the fourth day of our description of Navadvip Dham. So it's the 11th of March, Dwadasi today, and today is the Tirabhav of Sripad Madhavendra Puripad. So we will celebrate his glories and his disappearance day. And also we're going to Godrumadwip. Yesterday we were in Rudradwip. Before that we were in Antardwip. Thank you, John. Antardwip and Simantadwip. So 2, 3, 4 islands we've covered so far. Koladwip also we've touched on. So today we're going to Godrumadwip and Madhyadwip. We'll perhaps have time to touch there at the end. So we'll have a kirtan and then we will begin glorifying Madhavendra Puripad. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Shri Madhvavedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Shri Mad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, oh Jaya Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radhe, Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Ganhabhaya Giridhare Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astoktar Zara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astoktar Zara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astoktar Zara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astoktar Zara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Shila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Vedanta Acharya Ki Jai, Jai Rasik Sirumani Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamanand Prabhu Treya Ki Jai, Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai, Arupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sika Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shrapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Swarupe, Daita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavila Swarupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo, Samarpaitam unnata ujvalarasam swabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundarata tikatamba satipita Sada hridare kandare sparatu vasachinandanaha Yam prabhajantamana petyam apeti krityam Dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava Putre titam mayatayo tarvo binidustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya vihina aparara lakshay Shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye Kripa maitvam sharanam prapala Brinde namaste charanara vindam Bhajami radam aravinda netram Smarami radam madhurasmitasyam Vadami radam karuna baradram Tato mamanasti katina kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina Edi vignaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So today we are celebrating the Tirabhav of Sripad Madhavendra Puripad, such a great, exalted personality. He subsisted in life completely on the mercy of Krishna. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryapasate tesham nityapi yuktanam shema yogakshamam. That he was fully dependent on Krishna's mercy for all his sustenance. He followed the vow of ayuchaka vritti. This means he never begged from anyone. And he wasn't doing this to make an impression anywhere. He wasn't doing this in a form of wanting people to glorify him because of that. In fact, the opposite. His humility was immense. And there was the very famous time in his life when he was visiting Govardhan and he was in Anayor. And he would eat only after sunset. Between sunset and sunrise, he would take something, if it was offered to him. So in this mood, he was just fully depending on Krishna. If Krishna wants me to live, he will provide. If he doesn't want me to live, he won't provide. So very beautiful mood that he carried with him. Madhavendra Puri is called the Prem Ankur, the seed, the sprout of Bhav Bhakti in the world. So we should consider where this came from. How did he get that Bhav Bhakti? So he's in the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya line. So we described yesterday about Madhva Acharya, how Madhva Acharya was more attached to the feelings of the seva, the bhav of the seva, rather than the rituals that were practiced by the various smartas, etc. So it seems that Madhavendra Puri had really captured this mood. He heralds the beginning because he was demonstrating bhav symptoms. No one else previously had demonstrated this. And of course, this is the prelude to Mahaprabhu's advent, because Madhavendra Puri's greatest disciple is Ishwara Puri, who carried that same seed and into the heart of Sachinandan Gaurahari. So our line, previously there was Jaidev Goswami in the 9th century, or sometimes it said the 11th century. But my Gurudev describes that his mood was much more Aishwarya. He couldn't write that verse about Krishna putting his head at the lotus feet of Sri Radhika. He had too much mood of reverence towards Sri Krishna. So, but from Jaidev Goswami was writing so many Gita Govinda, etc. Beautiful descriptions of Radha and Krishna's separation. Also, Chandidas was writing very many beautiful poems about separation, etc. Vidyapati also. So this current of the sweetness and speciality of Radha and Krishna's pastimes, especially concerning meeting and separation. But Madhavendra Puri was blessed with that full absorption in the moods entirely. And because of his utter dependence on Krishna, because of this vow that he took, so much mercy he received. So one time he was in Govardhan in Anayor, and he hadn't taken anything. And just on sunset, a beautiful boy appeared with a pot of milk and gave him the milk. And Madhavendra Puri said, "How did you know I was fasting?" And the boy said, "Oh, the ladies at the well, they told me that you hadn't eaten all day. Why didn't you beg? In my village, no one goes hungry." He was saying like this. And Madhavendra Puri was just absorbed in the beauty of this boy. But he took the pot, and the boy said, "I'll return later to collect the pot." And when Madhavendra Puri tasted this milk, it was like absolute nectar. He'd never tasted any milk in his life like this milk that was given to him by this cowherd boy in Anayor, in Govardhan. So he drank that milk with great relish. And then he cleaned the pot and he waited for the boy to return. And then as the night went on, in the middle of the night, he nodded off, went to sleep for a few minutes. And in that sleep, he had a wonderful dream of that boy returned to collect the pot. And that boy said, "I am Gopal. I reside on top of this hill. This is my land here where you've come. And my pujaris, being afraid of the Turkish troops, they buried me under the ground just a little distance from here. And I've been waiting for you for many, many years to come and take me out. I'm too hot and I need feeding." And he gave him this vision of exactly where he was buried. Madhavendra Puri was totally in ecstasy, receiving this dream and this instruction that he should take out Gopal and establish him. So then the boy disappeared. And of course, Madhavendra Puri was just in complete ecstasy at that time. But the next morning he came to the village of Anayor and he requested all the villagers there. He told them that Gopal had indicated to him where he was lying buried in the ground, and they should all come with him with their machetes, etc., and help him take Gopal out from under the ground and re-establish him for his worship. So all the villagers very happily followed Madhavendra Puri, and they came into the jungle. It was a deep jungle. They had to cut through the jungle to get to this particular place where Madhavendra Puri had it indicated in his dream. And then they started digging just a little bit, and straight away this beautiful, beautiful form of Gopal appeared, and the villagers were just utterly amazed at this, the beauty of this form, and they immediately bathed him. They gave him an abhishek to some degree, but then they had to install him back on the hill of Govardhan. They got some large boulders and put the boulders behind him so he could stand up straight. And then all began to worship him very beautifully, because he was such a stunning, beautiful Thakurji. And then one very wealthy merchant from Mathura came and provided a bed and a shelter, like a makeshift temple, more or less. And then all the local villagers, they requested Madhavendra Puri, they wanted to perform the Anukut festival. This is actually the beginning of the Anukut festival, of worship of Giriraj Govardhan, or worship of Gopal, the lifter of Govardhan. So all the villagers, they all performed that wonderful festival. And then all the surrounding villages, they all wanted to do the festival too. And for many, many weeks, this Anukut festival was performed. Ana means rice and Kut means a mountain of rice. So, is it correct? Anukut. So they made many mountains of rice, pakoras, halva, sweet rice, etc. and offered everything to Gopal, who became very satisfied. And they performed Abhishek continually for so long. So they thoroughly installed him very, very beautifully. And then Madhavendra Puri, he was conducting that worship for some time, some months, perhaps a year or two. And then two very qualified Bengali pujaris, they came, and Madhavendra Puri, he trained them how to perform the worship of Gopal. And at that time, again, a second time, Gopal appeared to Madhavendra Puri in his dream and said, "My body is still hot from being under the ground for so long. You have to go to Jagannath Puri and procure chandan, sandalwood paste, and cool my body down. It needs lots of chandan on it to cool it down." So Madhavendra Puri was ecstatic to receive that direction, that order. And then he immediately left for Puridam. And on his way to Puridam, he comes to Remuna. And in Remuna is the beautiful deity of Kircho Gopinath, or Gopinath at that time. He's called Gopinath. This deity was carved by the arrow of Lord Ram when Sita was requesting Ram to show his form that he would appear in the future. So Ram took an arrow and made a beautiful vigraha of Gopinath, of himself. And that vigraha was installed in Remuna. And Madhavendra Puri, he came and he saw the Thakurji there, Gopinath, and he was in complete ecstasy, dancing. But then he saw the offerings of the kheer that was being offered to him. And there was, 10 cups of this kheer were being offered. And Madhavendra Puri could smell the flavor of that kheer and was wondering in his mind, if I could just taste a little bit of that, I would know how to make it for my Gopal in Govardhan. And in his mind he was thinking, but then he became disgusted with himself for wanting to taste the bhoga that was being offered to the Lord. He became very unhappy with himself for desiring that. But Gopinath had heard his desire. And then Madhavendra Puri, he leaves the temple and he goes and sits in the marketplace close by and just chants his rounds. Now this is in the evening time. This was the Gora Arti time. And after that bhoga offering, the pujari cleaned the altar and so on, and then took rest finally. And in his rest, the pujari was woken up by Gopinath saying, "Oh, by my tricks, I've managed to conceal one pot of that kheer for my dear devotee, Madhavendra Puri." And the pujari was amazed, and he immediately took a bath and then came into the temple room, and he saw under the skirt of Gopinath one pot had been kept there secretly. This is why he eventually gets the name of Kirchor, the thief, Gopinath. So he got that pot, and then he comes to the market. He's instructed to give it to Madhavendra Puri. So he comes to the marketplace and he's calling out, "Madhavendra Puri, Madhavendra Puri, Gopinath has stolen a pot of rice for you, a pot of kheer for you. You're the most fortunate person in the world. Please come and take this pot of kheer." And Madhavendra Puri was quietly chanting, and he heard this pujari calling out his name and saying about the kheer had been kept by Gopinath. Madhavendra Puri became totally ecstatic, and he came forward, and that pujari gave him that clay pot of kheer. And Madhavendra Puri, he sat and he took all of that clay pot of kheer and was in complete ecstasy and noted the taste very carefully. And then he breaks that clay pot and puts it in his cloth, ties it in his cloth. So in the future days, he can suck on those clay pieces and remember the taste of that kheer. And then he's thinking in his mind, that pujari has called out my name. And in the morning time, this news will get around the whole village, and they'll all come and want to worship me and think that I'm someone very special. So I should leave straight away. So he leaves practically in the middle of the night for Puri on his mission to get the chandan and sandalwood paste for his Gopal in Girira, in Govardhan. And then he goes to Puri. But by the time he reaches Puri, the news of Gopinath's activities have already reached Puri. And they know that this sannyasi is coming, Madhavendra Puri, and they know Gopinath has actually stolen a pot of sweet rice for him. He must be a very, very special sannyasi. So everyone in Puri comes to meet Madhavendra Puri, and they begin to glorify him greatly. But Madhavendra Puri is an Uttam Bhagavat. So he uses that glorification for his own advantage. And he tells the crowds that are glorifying him, now you can help me procure enough sandal and chandan to cover the body of my Thakurji, of Gopal, in Govardhan. So then very easily he got all what was required for the sandal and the Gopi Chandan to put on the body of Gopal. And he was even given 2 servants to carry it all. And he was even given all the papers, because there are many Muslim tolls, gates at that time. The Muslims had invaded all the way down through Orissa from Bengal and created much problem for all the pilgrims traveling. But the king of Orissa, he arranged for the papers and everything so that Madhavendra Puri would have no problem in getting back to Govardhan. So he began his journey back, and the 2 Brahmins, they were carrying or the servants, they were carrying the chandan and sandal with them. And again, they came to Ramuna, because it's on the way after Jalasur, they came to Ramuna. And again, Madhavendra Puri, this time he saw Gopinath, was in such ecstasy to see Gopinath, dancing so much in ecstasy. And the pujari immediately brought him many pots of the sweet rice. And he took the sweet rice and gave the servants and everything. And then that night he slept in the temple. When you go to Ramuna, it's divided into 3 portions. It's like 3 temples stuck together. Very, very beautiful arrangement. So in one of those, he was able to rest for the night, slept for the night. And when he was resting, then Gopinath appeared in his dream, and Gopal appeared in his dream, and said, they spoke to him both together. They said, we are both non-different. If you put that Gopi Chandan on Gopinath, then Gopal is going to feel the effect of it just as well. So Madhavendra Puri was in ecstasy to hear this idea. So he spent the whole 4 months of Chaturmasya in Ramuna. And he had these 2 servants that were with him grinding up the chandan and the sandal to apply onto the body of Gopinath. The pujaris, of course, in Ramuna were in complete ecstasy, because every single day Gopinath was just covered in thick chandan. And Gopal in Anayor was completely happy. He was totally satisfied with that offering. So this is understood that Krishna wanted to relieve Madhavendra Puri from the burden, the trouble, to walk all the way back to Vrindavan, going through all the different tolls, etc., and possibility of thieves and so on the way. So all of that was performed there in Ramuna. So that had been the 3rd time that Madhavendra Puri had received direct darshan. The first, Gopal, when he came with the milk. The second, when he ordered him to go to Puri to collect that sandal. And the 3rd time, in Ramuna, when he told him to put all the chandan on Gopinath. So 3 times he had darshan directly of Gopal and Gopinath. So Madhavendra Puri is such a great personality. Then he returns to Govardhan, and he's installed these 2 pujaris. They're conducting the worship very nicely. And more opulence is coming around Gopal. But then later on, that same Gopal is taken to Ujjain. Is that right? The Gopal... Natwa, yes, Natwa. Yes, Natwa. And today you can see that original Gopal in Natwa. Today they have a replica, a similar Pratibhu Thakurji there at the sitting place of Madhavendra Puri. in Govindakund. If we go to Govindakund, we see the sitting place of Madhavendra Puri, and we remember his pastimes. But the principle about Madhavendra Puri is when he was leaving his body, Ishwara Puri was serving him so nicely. Madhavendra Puri became incapacitated for some time, and Ishwara Puri took complete care of him. Madhavendra Puri had also met and danced with Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu was in fact junior to Madhavendra Puri. No, he was senior, sorry. Nityananda Prabhu is initiated by Lakshmipati Tirtha, and Lakshmipati Tirtha is the guru of Madhavendra Puri, so they were like godbrothers, and they have an ecstatic meeting where Nityananda and Madhavendra Puri, they meet each other. And Madhavendra Puri has many elevated disciples. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Advaita Acharya is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. There are many, Brahmananda Puri, Keshav Puri, Nrsimha Tirtha, Sukhananda Puri. So many personalities took shelter of Madhavendra Puri, but he's a very inspiring personality for us to remember and contemplate today. His absolute Sharanagat, his mood of complete surrender to Krishna in every act that he performed. So we remember with great happiness Madhavendra Puri Pad today. Madhavendra Puri Pad Ki Jai. So now we're coming into our parikrama, and the first place we come to is Surabhi Kunj. So Surabhi Kunj is that place where Surabhi cow, this Surabhi cow is not the cow from the transcendental world, because Indra, he felt ashamed of his act of trying to murder all the residents of Vrindavan. But Indra is not qualified to be with that apricot Surabhi cow from Goloka Vrindavan, but her Anksi, the Angsa of that cow. Lord Brahma told Indra, you go and petition Surabhi Devi and ask her to come with you to perform the Abhishek of Krishna and beg forgiveness from him here in Vrindavan. So Surabhi Devi comes, we know that pastime, and they perform Abhishek of Krishna here in Vrindavan, and it seems that Krishna forgives Indra. But Indra in his heart doesn't really feel he's been forgiven sufficiently for his horrific act of trying to murder. He tried to kill all the residents of Vrindavan, the cows, the insects, everything in Vrindavan. He sends those Chanataka clouds, the clouds of devastation, cuts them from their ropes of wind and has them just devastate this whole land of Braj with torrential rains, but because of Sudarshan Chakra evaporating all the water, and because of Shivji's Trishul spinning around also, nothing was touched even. Actually, the whole ground was purified for the next event in Krishna's pastimes, which is the Ras Leela. So everything was beautifully purified, in fact. But Indra was the one who tried to murder them all. So he was feeling very regretful of that. And Lord Brahma instructed him, well, you should come in front of Krishna with a cow, with Surabhi Devi. And then, I don't think that'll stop the noise. You can try. And then, because today we have Surabhi Kund, just here in Govardhan, just before Jetipur. So that's where Surabhi Devi, she also is residing eternally in her Angsa form. But then Indra here again approaches Surabhi Devi and explains to her that I'm not really feeling forgiven by Krishna. So then Surabhi Devi says, we will go to Navadvip and petition Mahaprabhu. Lord Brahma, he guides them and tells them, if you go and do austerities in Navadvip Dham, then you will invoke the mercy of Sachinandan Gaurahari, and then you will be forgiven. This is many millions of years before Mahaprabhu actually appears. So Surabhi Devi and Indra, they come to this place in Godrumadwip. Go means cow, Drum is the tree, the Ashwatthata tree there, that is there. And Surabhi Devi and Indra, they perform austerities for a long time there. And finally, Sachinandan Gaurahari, he appears. And Indra is just amazed at his beauty, of course, because his beauty is Sri Radha. He's carrying the complexion and beauty of Radha. And Surabhi Devi is offering so many prayers. Indra offers prayers. And then Indra is forgiven again, a second time. And this time Indra feels satisfied. And then Mahaprabhu instructs, or Gauranga Mahaprabhu instructs Indra to go back to his place in Swagaloka and feel peaceful and forgiven for his offense. But Surabhi Devi, she stays there. She stays under that tree. She also stays here. She's here also. So in both places, Surabhi Devi's there. We can go there now in Braj. Beautiful kund has been built. And we go into Godrumadwip, and another beautiful place is manifesting there. It's a very beautiful temple. That one devotee, his name is Avadut Maharaj, and he took sannyas from Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. And he's made a very beautiful temple there in the last 10, 12 years. And they have Radha Madan Mohan on the altar, and Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and a beautiful little altar for Surabhi Devi. So she's been worshipped there today very nicely. Also at this place, Markandeya Rishi was saved from the inundation. Markandeya Rishi, a great sage, and he was benedicted with the mercy to live for 7 manvantaras. He had the mercy to live for 7. One manvantara is 309 million years. There are 14 manus in the day of Lord Brahma. That's 4,320,000 years. 320 million years. 4,320,000,000 years constitutes one day of Lord Brahma. So if we divide that into 14, it comes to approximately 309 million years. That's the lifespan of one Manu. So it's an extremely long time. In the lifespan of one Manu, all the Devas manifest. At the end of that Manu, all the Devas leave their bodies or return to this earthly plane, and another set of demigods replace them there. So he had the lifespan of 7 Manus. And in the final Manu that he was experiencing, there was a partial inundation, and the waves, Lord Brahma is described, has a rest in the day. So there was like a pralaya, not the Mahapralaya, but it was a pralaya, and huge waves were crashing Markandeya's Rishi body around in the ocean there, and he was getting smashed and submerged in the ocean and wondering why he had asked for this long lifespan. He actually wanted to see Maya Devi. That was he wanted to see Krishna's illusory potency. That was his desire. And when he's been thrown around in the waves, then he suddenly comes to a small island, and there's a small child sucking his toe, sitting on a leaf, and he doesn't know who that child is. But that child opens his mouth and sucks Markandeya Rishi into his body. Then Markandeya Rishi all of a sudden is back in his ashram, and everything's very beautiful again. But then the child breathes out again, and he's back in the ocean again, being smashed by all the waves and so on. And then he realizes, oh, this is the illusory energy. He realizes that by being pulled into the body and then pushed out again, that this is the nature of this illusory world. We're going through this illusory experience, and then again we leave this body and take another body, etc. So this cycle is going on. But at that time, Surabhi Devi, from that island, because Navadvip Dham is an eternal Dham, it never gets inundated by the waves of the devastation. So Surabhi Devi, she pulls him out, and she gives him her milk and revives him. So he's no longer suffering at that time. lived with his family for 10, 12 years. He lived in Surabikunj. There's an original house there, and that was where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes the Jaiva Dhamma, is written from that place. He also writes the Kalpataru, this Godrum Kalpataru. Yes, this beautiful book about the marketplace of the holy name. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a very powerful presence there. And all the devotees come and they hear these pastimes. And also, we very much glorify Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's his mood, it's his place where he is. Then just a little bit further up the road from there, we come to Swananda Sukata Kunj, which also is the place of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His residence was actually in Surabhi Kunj, and like his office more or less was in Swananda Sukata Kunj. He named it himself Swananda Sukata Kunj because that's the name of the Kunj of his most worshipful Ananga Manjari. Ananga Manjari, the maidservant of Lalita Sakhi, he describes in the beginning of Jaiva Dhamma, lives in the center of Radhakund. In the center of Radhakund, there's an island called Swananda Sukata Kunj, and this is the island of Ananga Manjari. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he named that second place of his as Swananda Sukata Kunj. This place actually was gifted to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur by his first disciple called Krishnadas. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he renovated it and made a beautiful temple which is there today. Originally, he placed the Thakurji of Gaur Gadadhar. The Gaur Gadadhar we see there today was installed and placed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The original Gaur Gadadhar Thakurji are with Lalit Prasad in his place in Birnagar. Birnagar is the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So there are the original deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Gaur Gadadhar had practically not been very much worshipped in that way previous to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He established that worship and honored Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his pranam mantra, Jai Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is it Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchitananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarapaya Rupanuga Varayati. It's Gaura Shakti. His disappearance day and the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandit are on the same day to give us a full understanding that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was totally empowered by the Shakti of Mahaprabhu, who is Sri Radha directly. In his spiritual identity, he's Kamala Manjari. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his glories are just unlimited. He just gave us such a wealth of the most ecstatic bhajans and literature. He gave us so much literature. There are so many books that we've already translated into English, and many books are still in Bengali. They haven't actually been translated even into Hindi yet. But he wrote for the general people. He took the Sanskrit writings and he wrote it in the simple Bengali way so that the general people could get access to these divine truths. We have today books like Bhakti Tattva Vivek, Jaiva Dhamma, of course, and there are so many Bhajan Rahasya, Kalpataru, yes, so many Sharanagati, and so many beautiful. Huh? Das Mula Shiksha, yes, that's in Jaiva Dhamma, yeah. Chaitanya Shikshamri.
Yes.
Yes, unlimited. It seems like just such an ocean. He's described as the second Ganga, the second Bhagavati coming. The ocean of infusion of spiritual conceptions delineated beautifully for the sadhak to meditate on and absorb himself in and make progress out of this material illusory world. So we spend much time today in these two places hearing the glories, particularly of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's his country. We described the day before yesterday about Antardvip, the map the actual manifestation of Yogpit was inaugurated, was manifested by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He found that Yogpit, he established that Yogpit. And he also interacted with the British gentry at the time. That was the time of the British Raj. So they were not very respectful to the Vaishnava cult. But because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a respectable figure himself, he was a district magistrate, and he never took a bribe in his life, and everyone understood it. They all knew he's a completely honest personality. He purified demons like Bishak Shane here in Puri, in the jungles around Orissa. He did so many mighty he took over the management of the temple in Puri and completely streamlined those 54 offerings a day that Lord Jagannath gets. He took all the corruption out of all the places that he went to because he was totally uncorrupted himself. So his life is just a whole powerful example of purity. And the British Raj appreciated that. They could accept that. They could see that directly, his respectability. He would never, for example, go to the theaters where he described that the women who were acting on the stage were like prostitutes. They shouldn't be acting like that, because he was friendly with many writers and authors and so on, and they would try to encourage him to come into this entertainment world. What's his name? The Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore. His brother was a very good friend of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he moved in a very respectable circle. And the British gentry, they appreciated that. And when his magnificent son, he prayed for a ray of Vishnu who appeared as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to carry his teachings into the world, which he did by inaugurating the Gaudiya Mats. Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't inaugurate the Gaudiya Mats. He actually wasn't so much necessarily in favor of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati doing that. He predicted that they will become so much clashes. People will have properties and so on, and there'll be contentions about who owns the properties. All these things actually came to pass. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes in Jivadharma, the nature of the Vaishnava cult was different groups of Vaishnavas would visit other groups, and there was no institutional environment for them. They would just live simply together and then interact with each other and so on. We see in the pastimes in the Jivadharma. But it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati who, out of his great compassion, understood that the people of Kali Yuga, as it's getting more and more degraded, would need to have a place where they could congregate and glorify the Lord. So initially this was greatly successful by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He established 64 mats in the whole of India. Did tremendous work and fully published and propagated the teachings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we see this tremendous boost in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, beginning with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because prior to that, there was like 100 years of darkness, basically. There was no prominent preacher. There was personalities like Jagannath Das Babaji, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was there, Baladev Vidyabhushan, but they weren't active, strong preachers in the world. They were writing, doing their bhajan, etc. Many Babajis were doing their bhajan at that time, but it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur who took the whole conception of Gaura's teachings, Mahaprabhu's teachings, especially in Jivadharma and in Shikshamrita, these two books in particular, and he gave the world the whole teachings, very simply, of Srila Sachinandan Gaurahari. So we have such a feeling of gratefulness and indebtedness to this personality. So today in Godrumadwip we are especially glorifying Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, coming through these two places of Surabhi Kunj and Swananda Sukara Kunj. And then from here we have to walk quite a distance, and the first place we come to is Harihara Ketra, which is on the road there. This is the place of Shivji, and it has the murti of half Vishnu and half Shiva. There's black and white murti there. And the pastime, I'm going to read the pastime from here because it's very simply presented of how he actually came here. But it's described that Shivji and Vishnu are like one. Actually, we should understand the tattva of Shivji. Shivji manifests from Krishna's right-hand side as Gopeshwar Mahadev. Shrimati Radhika, Swarup Shakti, is manifesting from his left side, Swarup Shakti. And then to perform ras with Krishna. And then Krishna needs a Ketrapal to guard the Rasastali, and that's Gopeshwar Mahadev. So he's the next manifestation directly from Krishna's body. Then all the other manifestations in existence are coming from Swarup Shakti. Everything that is manifesting the world comes from Swarup. Krishna does nothing. Krishna has his independence and his freedom. We were saying yesterday that Swatantrata and Ichamayata. He has these two qualities, but it's the Swarup Shakti that is the Shakti, Krishna's energy that manifests everything. But Shivji, he comes directly from Krishna, so therefore he's called Swangsa. So these Swangsa avatars are coming directly from the body of Krishna. That's Baladev, all the avatars, Kurma, Varaha, Kalki, Vamanadev, Nrsingadev, they're all coming directly from the body of Krishna. And then we are separated entities, the Vibhinamsa. Vibhin means separated. We're separated living entities. So two different sorts of entities. And Shivji is Swangsa, but he has the conception that he's a servant of Krishna. He has that mood of desire to serve. It's like all the avatars, Nrsingadev, Kurma, Matsya, etc., they all have their own planets and they sit in their own godhead. Matsya is the god of his planet. Kurma is the god of his planet, etc. All those personalities. But Shivji, he doesn't have that bhav, that mood. So he's called Swangsa, Bhav, Abbas. Abbas is like a shadow of the actual Swangsa. That's why it's sometimes difficult to understand his tattva. Because is he God or is he not God? There are many Shiv Bhaktas who proclaim he's Bhagavan. But we worship him as Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu, the greatest servant of Bhagavan. He considers himself the greatest servant of Ram. There are so many pastimes describing this, like in when Ram is going to Lanka, trying to cross the ocean there, then he builds a Shiva Lingam, and then all the local people saying, oh, Ram is a servant of Shivji. And then the demigods say, no, Shivji is serving, the demigods are serving Shivji. And then Shivji himself becomes angry and breaks that lingam and declares, no, I am Ram's servant. He comes as Hanumanji to serve Ram in his pastimes. Shivji is everywhere, so huge tattva. So we've come to Harihara Ketra in Goradam, where is the root of the sitting place of Shivji. So I'll just read this pastime briefly and you can get a picture of it. So it's described, this place is called Mahavarnasi. I'm reading from this, but this book is exactly the same as our regular Parikrama book. It's just excerpted from it. Also called Mahavarnasi, situated on the bank of the Gandaki River. Here in this ancient temple, Sri Hari, Vishnu, and Sri Hara, Shivji, are manifested in the same deity form. We'll post a picture of this form. It's very, very ecstatic. Once, Pundraka, the king of the Krosha province, declared to Krishna that he was God and challenged him to battle. He actually comes to the gates of Dwarka and he's put 2 fiberglass arms on his body to make him look like a 4-armed form. And he declares, oh, I am that 4-armed form. Krishna, you should give me your Sudarshan chakra, belongs to me. Look, I've got 4 arms. And Krishna hears this news, he's sitting in his Shabha, and all the Yadavas, they just begin to laugh and laugh and laugh. But then Krishna, he sends first, yeah, he chases Pundraka away. And then Krishna comes with his whole army. I'll read, it's easier just to read it. When Pundraka, the king of Krosha province, declared to Krishna that he was God and challenged him to battle, Krishna came to Kashi, where Pundraka has his place, and Pundraka and his ally, Kashishraj, the king of Kashi, came forth from the city to attack him. Krishna defeated them all and tossed the king's head back into the city. The son of Kashishraj, Sudakshan, then performed a tantric yagya to Mahadev, Lord Vishwanath, invoking the demon Dakshin Agni. So this personality, Vishwanath, is Shivji residing in Varanasi at that time. He's still the Mahant of Varanasi. So Dakshin Agni was manifested from the son of Sudakshin, from the son of the king, because he was so angry with his father's death. Sudakshin from the fire. Dakshin Agni was sent to Dwarka to incinerate it. So this demon was sent to incinerate Dwarka. But Krishna's chakra, manifesting the most intense heat like 1,000,000 blazing suns, met him at the gates of the city. Dakshin Agni fled in fear from that intense heat from Krishna's chakra and returned to Kashi, followed by the Lord's chakra, where he proceeded to incinerate Sudakshin along with his priests. So when you perform these tantric yagyas, if they're not successful, they come back and they have to devastate the person who invoked their presence. That's the razor-sharp gamble you're taking when you invoke such a demon. If he's not successful, he's going to come back and get you. So that's what happened. This Dakshin Agni completely destroyed the priest and the son of the king, Sudakshin, as well as Kashi and his abundant wealth. He comes in, so you've got this demon, Dakshin Agni, destroying Kashi, and then you've got Sudarshan Chakra coming behind. This terrific heat of the fire just incinerating the whole city. At that time, Mahadev, who was residing in the city, fled to Navadvip, seeking Mahaprabhu's shelter. Then Vishnu manifested there, saying, "We are non-different." Hence the astonishing Harihara deity manifested there from this pastime. So we remember this pastime, we remember Shiv Tattva when we come here. There are so many inspirational moods in this place of Harihara Ketra, very sanctified place. So that's where we've come after Swananda Sukata Kunj today. Now our Parikrama party will cross over the street basically. This is a place called Amargat. Amargat is the head of the railway. And we cross over the road from there. A little bit further we come to Suvarna Bihar. And in Suvarna Bihar was the ancient kingdom of Suvarna Sen. And Suvarna Sen, even in his older life, was performing various karmic yagyas to procure more wealth for himself. And somehow or other, by immense fortune, Narada Muni came there and preached to this Suvarna Sen this beautiful verse, Labda Sadulavam Idam Bahu Sambhavante Manusyam Dam Artha Paranyamya. No, I got that middle down. Let's see. Labda Sadulavam Manusyam Artha Dam Anityam Apiha Dira Tulnam Yateta Ya Napatet Anu Mrityu Yavan Nishresya Vishaya Kalo Sarvata Syat. And this is meaning this human birth. This is how Narad is preaching to Suvarna Sen. I'll read this translation because it's very descriptive. The human birth is very rare because it is only attained after many, many lifetimes. Although temporary, it can give the highest benefit, and it is like the springboard leading to the spiritual perfection. So even though this body is temporary, we still can springboard into the spiritual conception with this body, even though this body is material. After all, sense gratification is available to all in all species, whereas spiritual perfection is possible only in the human being. It's only in this species The animals don't have the ability to meditate on the Supreme Lord. Therefore, an intelligent person should immediately, without wasting a single moment, begin to endeavor both one-pointed dedication to achieve the ultimate good fortune before death comes. Labda sadulavam idam bahu sambhavante. So this verse, Narada Muni is speaking to Suvarna Sen, and Suvarna Sen is listening, and he takes the word. Narada Rishi is the supreme guru of so many personalities. Srivas Thakur is that same Narada Muni. Narada Muni is the guru of Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, etc. So many personalities. And that night, Suvarna Sen, he has a dream, and he sees Gauranga Mahaprabhu in his dream, and he's totally spellbound. Every time when someone sees Mahaprabhu in a dream or a vision, it's the complexion of Sri Radhika, which captures everyone. It's like when Mahaprabhu was traveling for 4 or 5 years 2 years in South India. Everyone was so attracted to his beautiful form and his long arms, and he was almost 7 feet tall, but radiating absolute beauty. That beauty is directly Sri Radhika. So Suvarna Sen, he witnessed this beauty of Sri Radhika in the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and wept and wept when that manifestation disappeared. Then there was a voice from the sky, "You will come as my follower, my associate, when I manifest my pastimes here. You will come as Buddhimanta Khan." Buddhimanta Khan was that person who arranged the marriage of Vishnu Priya. Mahaprabhu's second marriage was a very, very elaborate affair because Lakshmi Priya had already left. So Sachimata wanted a really elaborate marriage for the second marriage. So this Buddhimanta Khan, he funded the whole arrangement for Sachimata. Sachimata had nothing. She was a poor widow. So Buddhimanta Khan, he manifests, and that's the same Suvarna Sen as was previously in the previous age. Practically Satyayuga is when Suvarna Sen was there. So there's still a little remnant of his fortress, his place, and this Suvarna Sen is where we come on the parikrama. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he procured that property to perpetuate this pastime and made a very wonderful temple there. And today that temple is functioning very nicely. There's always many cows in the courtyard, large trees, shady trees for the pilgrims.
Mango trees.
Mango trees, yes, yes. And there's always a market there when we come, selling the cucumbers and the coconuts, etc. It's a very restful place for the devotees. But we hear this pastime. So this is Suvarna Bihar. And then from there, we come to Nrsimhapalli. This actually is the longest day walking of the whole parikrama today. So it comes just after Ekadashi, and we have to walk almost 15 kilometers, 12, 13, 14, 15 kilometers to Nrsimhapalli. And it's often on the very hot, melting road. The tarmac has melted, and it's a tough austerity. And if we perform that austerity, Mahaprabhu, his heart will melt completely. We've done so many years, we've seen little old ladies, their backs overbent with their sticks, and they're hobbling along barefoot. They're doing it for the whole distance. It's really, really inspiring to see. Because our party previously, under my Gurudev, would have about 15,000 people would be there. I can remember one time sitting in a place and watching the whole parikrama pass, and it took almost an hour for the whole parikrama to walk past. It's a huge parikrama. So this parikrama makes its way through the winding country roads, and we come to Nrsimhapalli. Now we should remember, or should appreciate this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Navadvip Bhavataranga, he puts Nrsimhapalli, Devapalli, in the island of Simantadvip, not in Godrumadwip. Today, because the changing river of the Alaknanda has changed its course, it seems that it's actually in Godrumadwip, but traditionally it was in Simantadvip. It's at the very end of the Navadvip Dham Parikrama. So there is Nrsingadev, and Nrsingadev was worshipped, this Murti there, in Satyayuga. This is an ancient. This was not even in this Satyayuga, this was in the Chakshush Manvantara when this Nrsingadev was worshipped. And at that time he would have just been like a shellogram. But today he's like, what, this large, 18, 20 inches, very beautiful. Nrsingadev, very, very, very potent. When we come in front of him, we feel such potency in this whole area of his influence. And there's a beautiful, very small temple there, but we become charged, and there's the Mandakini lake or river. The river actually is flowing under the ground, but there's a lake that remains, and it's described that this is where Nrsingadev washed his hands after defeating Hiranyakashipu, defending his beautiful son Prahlad. But I wanted to read, because I knew there wouldn't be so much time at this point, because we've reached the end of our time here, from this Navadvip Bhav Taranga, just to try and catch the mood from, again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us all the moods of the whole Dham. He's the manifester of the Dham. He's the seventh Goswami. We owe everything to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No one would know where any of these islands were unless it was for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he writes, southeast of there is Nrsingsapalli. He's just coming from Suvarnabihar. Southeast of there is Nrsingsapalli. When will I see the pure transcendental sweetness of this place, also called Devapalli? Devapalli means the place of the gods, because if you go to that lake that's there and you look on the other side, even today you can see 6 or 7 hillocks, small hills. Those were all the palaces of the Devas. Vishwakam had his palace there, Ganeshji had his palace there, Indra had his palace there, Agni had his palace there. They had palaces there worshipping that Lord Nrsingadev previously. But now they just become little hills. Actually, they're building a huge temple there. ISKCON is building a big temple on the other side there at the moment. But he's saying, I will roll about on the ground in ecstatic love while visiting this residence of Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev can cure all our obstacles. Any obstacles that are there in our bhakti, we can pray to Lord Nrsingadev. Just like Ganeshji, sometimes the materialists particularly, they pray to Ganeshji. But Nrsingadev, we pray for him too. Because in the beginning of Jaivadharma, we have the guru of Prem Das Babaji called Pradumna. And he's meditating in Nrsingsapalli. And I asked my Gurudev one time, why is he meditating there? Isn't it a more rasik place to meditate? And my Gurudev explained that actually Nrsingadev can give Raganuga Bhakti. He can benedict the follower, sincere follower, because he can clear all the misconceptions from the heart. And he can inspire that Rag Marg within the heart of the sadhak. So actually Nrsingadev is a very powerful person for all these sadhaks. Nrsingadev here in Navadvip Dham. I will roll about on the ground in ecstatic love while visiting this residence of Lord Nrsingadev, sincerely begging for his grace. Without a trace of duplicity in my heart, I will attain Krishna Prem. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying himself, he will attain Krishna Prem by the mercy of Nrsingadev. Within my sinful heart, the 6 enemies headed by lust perpetually reside, as well as duplicity, the desire for fame, plus sheer cunning. At the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev, I hope that he will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Lord Krishna. Weeping, I will beg at the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev for the benediction of worshipping Radha and Krishna in Navadvip, perfectly safe and free from all difficulties. He will protect us from all difficulties in the Holy Dham. When will this Lord Hari, whose terrible form strikes fear into fear itself, ever become pleased and show me his mercy? Even though Lord Nrsingadev is terrifying towards the sinful souls, he offers great auspiciousness unto the devotees of Lord Krishna, headed by Prahlad Maharaj. Yesterday we talked about the Chankazi the day before yesterday, being scratched on his chest by Nrsingadev. He was terrified because of such a sinful man. When will he be pleased to speak words of compassion unto me, a worthless fool, and thereby making me fearless? He will say, dear child, sit down freely and live happily here in Sri Gauranga Dham. May you nicely worship the divine couple, and may you develop loving attachment for their holy names. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are cast far away. With a purified heart, just perform the worship of Radha and Krishna, for such worship overflows with sweet ecstasy. So really understand Mahaprabhu's identity as Radha and Krishna. We are worshipping Mahaprabhu, this golden avatar, but we're understanding his absolute identity. Radha Krishna Vikritya Ladini Shakti Asmad Ekatmana Apivavi Deha Vedanta. Mahaprabhu is one, Radha and Krishna. In all of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings, Gita Mala, what's the one? Gita Mala and I can't remember. Gita Bali. Yes. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is glorifying the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna. And we explained in the very first day that this Astakalya Lila of Mahaprabhu is meditation on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So that is who is Maha. It's one. Vrindavan and Navadvip are one. May you nicely worship the divine couple, and may you develop loving attachment for their holy names. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are cast far away. With a purified heart, just perform the worship of Radha and Krishna, for such worship overflows with sweet nectar. Saying this, will that Lord delightfully place his own divine lotus feet upon my head. Suddenly I will experience sublime love for the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, and undergo ecstatic transformations called sattvika. Falling on the ground, I will roll about at the door of the Nrsingadev temple. So this is the description. In this beautiful little book, this Navadvip Bhav Taranga, I'm sure you can buy it even on Amazon today probably. It's very widely published. These are the meditations, the internal vision of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in all the different places of the Dham. So this meditation on Nrsingadev is very sweet to appreciate and remember today. So this Nrsinga Pali is going to be our last place today. So Godrumadwip. We're not touching on, there's Madhyadvip, which comes around the corner, and actually as we walk back from Nrsinga Pali to Navadvip, we come through the Naimisharanya place where the sages are meditating. This is Madhyadvip, and we come to the place of the Sapta Vajan Stali is situated. This is a place where Brahma described the worship of Sri Gauranga and the coming Kali Yuga to the 7 sages, Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulika, Pulaha, Kratu, Pulasta, and Vashishta Rishi. These 7 rishis had the glories of Mahaprabhu described by Lord Brahma. Then there is Naimisharanya, the forest of Naimisharanya, because everything is within Vrindavan. Then there's Brahmana Pushkar. The Pushkar Tirtha is actually there, that one great Brahmana, he was meditating, and Pushkar himself manifested in that place. There's also the Panchaveni. So this is all in Madhyadvip. So just in a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, I've walked through Madhyadvip with you, because the main part is the Godrumadwip today. So we don't generally stop so much in these. There's also Uchahata, which is the Kurukshetra within Brahmavart. So that is also there at that place. That's on the way back from the Nrsinga to Navadvip. So today we've covered 2 islands, Godrumadwip and Madhyadvip. And yesterday we covered 2 islands, Godrumadwip and Godrumadwip. That's 4. And then before that, there was 2. There was Antardwip and Simantadwip. So that's 6 islands in 3 days. We've touched on something of their glories for our meditation, in separation from the Gora Parikama here in Radhakund. So I think it's very balancing, actually, to have a parikama for Goradam in Radhakund itself. So Shri Goradam ki jai, Navadvip Parikama ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premnandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nityananda Rai ki jai, Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Madhavendra Puri Par ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gau Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavivyo Namo Namaha.